Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Shtotara Shatashimadhi His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Garantara Srimad-Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Shigoranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 9, entitled Liberation, Chapter 18, entitled King Yayati Regains His Youth, text 24 and 25. Read 24 and then 25 we read together. Gate raja nishadhire tatrasma rudati pitu Nievedaya tata sharvan ukta sarsmitaya kritam. Translation. Thereafter, when the learned king returned to his palace, Devayani returned home crying and told her father Sukra Acharya about all that had happened because of Sarmishta. She told how she has been thrown into the well but was saved by the king. Text 25. Durmana Bhagavan Kavya Paurohityam Vigarhayam Stuvan Brittin Chakapotim Duhitra Sayayau Purat Durmana Bhagavan Kavya Paurohityam Vigarhayam Stuvan Brittin Chakapotim Duhitra Sayayau Purat Durmana Bhagavam Kavya Paurohityam Vigarhayam Stuvam Brittin Chakapotim Duhitra Sayayau Purat Parohityam Vigarhayam Suram Brittin Chakapotim Tuhitra Sajajau Puran Durmana Bhagavan Kavya Parohityam Vigarhayam Stubam Brittin Chakapotim Duhitra Sajajau Purat Durmanaha, being very unhappy. Bhagavam, the most powerful. Kavyaha, Sukracharya. Paurohityam, the business of priesthood. Vigarhayam, condemning. Stuban, praising. Britim, the profession. Cha, and Kapotim, of collecting grains from the field. Duhitra, with his daughter. Saha, he, Sukracharya. Yayao, when? Purat, from his own residence. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. As Sukracharya listened to what had happened to Devayani, his mind was very much aggrieved, condemning the profession of priesthood and praising the profession of Unchabriti, collecting grains from the field. He left his home with his daughter. Purport. When a Brahmana adopts the profession of kapota, or pigeon, he lives by collecting grains from the field. This is called Unchabriti. A Brahmana who takes to this Unchabriti profession is called first class, because he depends completely on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and does not beg from anyone. Although the profession of begging is allowed for a Brahmana or sannyasi, one does better if he can avoid such a profession and completely depends on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For maintenance. Sukracharya was certainly very sorry that because of his daughter's complaint, he had to go to his disciple and beg some mercy, which he was obliged to do because he has accepted the profession of priesthood. In his heart, Sukracharya did not like his profession, but since he accepted it, he was obliged to go unwillingly to his disciple to settle the grievance submitted by his daughter. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurube Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Prabhupada Swami Iti Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshesha Shunyabadi Pashatya Deshatanine. Vancha Kalpa Taruvyasha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. So today is the auspicious appearance of Bhagavad Gita, or when Bhagavad Gita was narrated by Sri Krishna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra to Arjuna. And I thought that the Bhagavad Gita is very relevant because it gives us a very clear picture of what the ultimate position that one can have is, and the means to achieve it. And in refer to this part of the passage that we're reading that depict the character of Sukracharya. Sukracharya, his profession was, he was the high priest and the guru of the Daitas. So, in the profession of high priest is within the duties and the activities of that are there prescribed in the Varnashram Dharma. So, being a Brahmana, acting as a priest within the social structure, there's duties to be performed. There's a whole network of cooperation between the different classes. And therefore one is obliged. One is obliged by duty. One has to perform duties. And because that social structure is designed by the Lord Himself, Chaturbhida bhajante mam. Krishna says that He designs, He is the creator of this Varnashram system. So it is meant to support a progressive upliftment of consciousness. And the principle is a principle of cooperation, a principle of performing one's duties according to one's occupation within the social structure. And in this case, Sruka Acharya was in the profession of a brahmana, of a priest, and he had the duties to perform. He was obliged. And being an advanced transcendentalist, he did not like that. He knew he understood that there is a superior space to that. Krishna explains that in the Bhagavad Gita. He paints the picture to Arjuna that as long as we have some attachments and desires, we have to fit ourselves within that social structure system. We have to work. We have to perform duties. So we have to act according to our position and our duties within this social structure. He explained, the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains what the Acharyas tell us is called a yoga ladder. So there is different levels of progression of consciousness. And in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explained to Arjuna in a conclusive way why his position is not to go into the part of renouncing that connection to the social structure and take up the renunciation, give up the performance of duty and give up the work and simply renounce the world, renounce that connection. Krishna discourages Arjuna that that's not your position at this time. It's bona fide, but to be there, you have to be free from attachments and desire, which you're not. If you take to that position and you're not ready, you will become it will be a farce. What's the word that is used? Pretender. You'll be a pretender. And our acharyas explain that, you'll be in the position of renunciation, trying to meditate in the super soul, but you're being disturbed by thoughts of the injustice that was committed by Duryodhana. You'll be connected to your attachments still. It will haunt you and will disturb, will make your capacity to focus on your dhanya, or your meditation, will be disturbed. Your mind won't be fully controlled for that. So therefore, your path, the path that is suitable for you, is this Nishkam Karma Yoga, which is you work, but without attachment to the results of work, and that result should be offered as a sacrifice for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu. So that's the suitable process for yourself. And what Krishna means, is for anyone who have attachments and desires to this world. So it's basically for most of us. Our acharyas tell us, so Krishna explains that there is these two levels, or these two, the whole yoga ladder. There is a lower level and there's a higher level. We study in the Bhakti Shastri that there is the Yoga Rurukshu and the Yoga Rudra. The Yoga Rurukshu is the beginnings stages of this process of, or the process that is given within the Manashram Dharma, which is you still have attachments, you still have desires, so you work according to that. And the Yoga Rukshu is when you're free from these things and you're able to give up your occupations. So Shukacharya, he is in the profession, of a priest within the social structure of the Varnashram, and he is lamenting right now when he's faced with all this drama, and he is obliged. One is that he still has some attachment to his daughter in one sense. I mean, he's a scribe. He himself said, in the narration of this pastime, that he tells the king, I'm obliged because I have too much affection for my daughter. So, but he laments, he understands, this is the result of this attachment, all this entanglement and all this thing, all this drama, all this stuff that, he have to basically act according to that. So he have to go to the king to settle this big mess. And he have to, and if the king's, he's going to be dependent. He's basically going to go to the king to say, please, act in such a way so my daughter is satisfied. It is explained here, he's feel he's going to have to go and beg for mercy. Please do that, because if you don't do that, I'm going to be inclined or obliged to become angry and curse you. And I can curse, it's a mess. It's a big drama, it's a big mess. I'm thinking, I'm a Brahmana. Brahmana means someone who knows about Brahman. He knows that there's a higher space. There's a higher space than what he is right now. And he started to feel that, geez, well, he won't say it like that, but he started to feel that, that's what I should be, right? And in this position. And the next position is this Ucchabriti. Brahmana means someone who doesn't depend on anyone else from his livelihood. So he's not obliged. He's actually outside this whole network of corporations and duties within this social structure. So he will leave the collecting grains from the field. They call the gleaners, I think, is actually historically also in different traditions this is there. There's this class of renunciants that they collect grains that after the harvest is taken, whatever grains falls aside in the fields, then they collect. Just like the pigeon. It is explained here that this the word that is used in the verse is kapotin or kapota. Kapota means a pigeon, and the pigeon does that. Whatever leftover grains are there that are disposed, then that's what they eat. So the Ucchavriti Brahmana doesn't depend on anyone, just whatever is provided by the Supreme Lord, then they take. Whatever is there that they can find without having to beg, basically. And so it's a much higher position. It's a first-class Brahmana, Prabhupada explained, because you have no dependence. You're only dependent on the Lord. Now, this is the position. Krishna explains in the 6th chapter that these sannyas, or renunciant, that is able to be, that being free from attachments and desire to this world, are able and qualified to renounce, then they enter into this process of actually connecting with the super soul by meditation. And through a process of meditation, then they achieve that connection, and then they go into higher stages of devotional service, which is the next higher stage. Therefore, Krishna tells at the end of the chapter, Yoginan apesarveshan matgatena tadatmanam, that of all yogis, the bhakti yogi is the highest. When one reaches that position of sradavam bhajate yomam, that one is fully, one's faith and the loving connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in place, then that is the highest of all yogis. And that is the goal that is there, when we get to that position. And the beauty of the Bhagavad Gita is that although that is the highest position that is achieved very rarely, because Krishna then tells Arjuna in the 7th chapter, following this, that out of thousands and thousands of men, hardly one actually comes to this position. It's durlabha. And later Krishna says too, that sa mahatmas durlabha, that the position of the devotee is rarely achieved. It's rarely achieved. But Krishna gives us he gives the path or the entrance to that position to anyone who simply surrender to him. And that's the essence of the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and the teachings of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. This sharanam, this process of surrender. Sharanam. The last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita is what Krishna says to Arjuna, that you have to abandon all these different processes that are in the yoga ladder, all these different dharmas that are there according to the different levels that are there in the yoga ladder. You can abandon all those and take up to this supreme dharma. And that supreme dharma is surrender to Krishna. Sharanam, sharanam, mam ekam sharanam braja. By that sharanam, we obtain the eternal association of Krishna. The word braja is there. So we have some of our acharyas comment that we have, by the process of saranagati or sharanam, we obtain entrance into Braj, into the kingdom or the intimate abode of Lord Krishna. So Krishna gives the process of Sharanagati. He explained that is the ultimate space. And the Bhagavatam elaborates on that on that whole thing. The whole Bhagavatam is about expanding and give us example of the great devotees who are enter into this space of Saranagati. They're called Saranagat Bhaktas, or fully surrender devotees of the Lord. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he teaches so beautifully this process of, he discusses the process of Saranagati, following in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami. In the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami introduces these 6 limbs of surrender. Going much deeper into understanding this process of Saranagati. He says, Anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjanam riksha shyati vishwasho gop tritve varanamtaha adma nikshepa karpanye shadvidha saranagati. And Srila Bhaktivinoda wrote a whole series of songs that goes into each one of these limbs of surrender, Saranagati. And the introduction is very beautiful. My spiritual master, His Holiness Ramapa Swami, gave one time a whole, several times actually. The first time he discussed this, I remember he presented it, was in one of the Gitanagari retreats back in 1980s, in the mid-1980s. I still have the booklet, of that time. And he gave this whole presentation of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Saranagati songs. And he have done it through the years later, several times. And the introduction is very beautiful of the song. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Doja Kori Swaparsada Srija Dhamma Shahavatari. That who's Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jive Doja Kori, that he comes to this world to give his mercy to all the living entities. Swaparshada Swija Dhana, that he comes with his associate and his abode to this world. He descends, Saha Avatari. And then it says, this is the part that is very important for us to understand. Atyanta durlava prema kori vairadana sikaya saranagati bhakatera prana. That atyanta durlava prema is translated that he comes to give the very rare gift of prema to all. So the translation of this verse is, in order to freely distribute the gift of ecstatic love of God, which is very difficult to obtain, then this is the process that he talked. Sikaya means, he talks. Saranagati. So he taught the process that Lord Chaitanya taught to obtain this very rare gift of prema is Saranagati, the process of surrender, which becomes the indispensable necessity of the true devotees. So at the core, at the heart of the process of devotional service of the devotees is these teachings of Saranagati, understanding very deeply the process of surrender. In other words, we cannot obtain Krishna, we cannot obtain this position of pure devotion without surrendering to Krishna. And then what are these surrender limbs that are there? Dainyatmani vedana gopitre varana avasya rakshive Krishna vishwashapalana bhakti anukula matra kairiera swaki swakara bhakti pratikula bhava bharjanagikara. He says, the 6 ways of surrender through Saranagati are humility, dainya. So the first one is humility, which means that without humility, we just cannot surrender to Krishna. It's not real. It's something that we have to work out as aspiring devotees. If we have this false ego conception that I have qualification, or I know, or I have, all these things that have to do with I am, and I got this control, which are symptoms of the quality that is opposed to humility, which is pride. Any level of pride that we can actually display, which is a symptom of false ego, is a hinder. It hinders our capacity to surrender. So humility is most important, because without understanding that we're simply an insignificant servant of Krishna. Gopi, Bhartur, Kama, Padalayor, Dasa, Anudas. Anudas means like insignificant speck of a servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis of Vrindavan. So if we come to understand, to embrace that position, the position of being a simple, insignificant servant, who have absolute, that our qualification is insignificant, then we can go to the next one, which is Atmanivedana. Atmanivedana is we can offer ourselves to Krishna. That's the next limb of surrender. Then we can offer ourselves to Krishna. Then once we offer ourselves to Krishna, we can consider, it becomes the next one, Gotritve Varana. We can consider Krishna as our Lord and Master, as our maintainer. And that's the highest position. So Sukracharya is lamenting that he have to be within this lower position, and then he aspires, or he thinks how nice will be to be in a position of being free from all these mundane things, the position of mukti. But higher than that is when we surrender to Krishna. And that's the highest position, the highest yogi. And that's what I'm trying to connect within this verse. So in that position, we do actually, when we surrender, we feel completely dependent on Krishna. He is our maintainer. He is our Lord and Master. Goptri Tve Varana. Avasya Rakshive Krishna Vishwasya Palana. Vishwasya means I have confidence and faith that Krishna will Rakshive. He will protect us. For sure, Avasya Rakshive. For sure, I'm confident that He will protect us. He will protect me. And Krishna's promise in Sarva Dharman Parijamani Kansharanam Aham Tvam Sarvabhavim Moksha Shami Masuchaha. Do not worry, I will protect you. So that's a position of surrender. We have full confidence on Krishna's word that He will protect us. And then Bhakti Anukula Matra Karyera Shrikara, that we only take those things that are favorable to pure devotion, and Tahara, was it Bhakti Pratkula Bhava Varjana Gikara, that we reject the things that are unfavorable. These are the 6 angas, or the 6 limbs of surrender. And that's the position, the desired position of the devotee. Come to that position. That's higher than this uchi. What is it? This uchi, unchabriti brahmana. Much better. Unchabriti brahmana. The position of a devotee who is fully surrendered. So 9 things to meditate, today, as at the core of the message of Bhagavad Gita. We simply have to accept Krishna and surrender to His guidance, to His system, to His service. And in this way, being situated in the highest position. Regardless, and this is another thing which is very beautiful, which are, part of the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, who came to teach us the process of Saranagati in order to qualify or have the capacity to receive His gift of Krishna Prema. He, in his conversations with Ramananda Roy, about the highest goal of life, of the goal of life, he accepted, although he rejected different positions, including the Sarva Dharman Parityaja, because he said, yeah, that's right, but there's something higher, and there's something higher. The one that he accepted, I say, yes, now speak more about that one, is that famous verse, Gyane prayashan udapasya namanta eva jivanti shan mukaritam bhavidi yavartam stanestita srutikatan tanuban manovir jeprayasho jitayito pyasitasti lokyam. Stanestita srutigatam. We can remain in our position. So for the devotee, then the situation in which you are, if you are working as a priest, if you are working as a cobbler, if you are working as a Vaishya, or if you're a renunciant, regardless, then we can be situated in that position, as long as we are under the protection of Krishna, as long as we're able to surrender, then the position is not the issue. We can actually remain in our position and still be in that highest platform of devotional service. And so Lord Chaitanya accepted this and asked Ramananda Roy speak further about this principle. The translation is, those who even while remaining situated in their established social position throw away the process of speculative knowledge, and with their body, words, and mind offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their life to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. So we can be situated, if we take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and his teachings, if we take up the process of Saranagati as taught by Lord Chaitanya, and go through our life, regardless of what position we have, and throw out mental speculation and simply dedicate ourselves to the process of Krishna's Sankirtan. And as taught by Lord Chaitanya, worship these narrations and descriptions and the sound vibration of that describe the personality of Godhead, and live according to these narrations and in association with devotees, then we can actually reach the highest position. Any comments or questions?
Trying to remember a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. I can't remember where it's from. It's something like you can abandon everything and just surrender, and there's no loss. Like what good is there of like performing your duties if there's no loss if you just give up everything and surrender to Krishna, even if you can't maintain it. Something like that. Do you remember that verse?
Can't remember.
No?
It's sort of ring a little, something, but I can't connect it.
It's something like that, like, I can't remember exactly where it's at, but it's like, you give up everything and surrender, even if you fall down from that position, there's no loss. Something like that.
Maybe in the 6th chapter, yes. Maybe.
Not sure. It seems like that verse is like contradicting to the idea of performing your duties and engaging. And there's also that idea of there's no loss of taking the risk of giving up everything and taking to renunciation, and just in that way surrendering everything beyond the varnashram
You mean someone who takes up to renunciation, or a yogi, a fallen yogi? The fallen yogi, meaning if you fall down, it's because you were not, there was something that you didn't work out properly. It was not. Is that?
No. Talk about a devotee, someone who gives up his occupational duty and surrenders to Krishna, like fully, I guess, like even, like giving up all duties, like.
And then?
So it's basically saying like there's no loss in doing that, and what good, and then it's like something like performing occupational duties without being in relation to Krishna. But it's better. It would be better to give up your occupational duty and surrender to Krishna, something like that.
Well, there's that. It just comes to mind that famous verse, I think, from Narada Muni, that for someone who surrenders to Krishna, who is in devotional service, or a devotee, then you don't need to go through all these different depths of duties that you have towards demigods, families, etc., society. You're free from that. And in one sense, it's what Krishna says, don't worry about sinful reactions. Because obviously, if we neglect our duty, there's a reaction, there's a bad reaction. But if you situated in this highest principle of surrender to Krishna, you don't have to worry, he takes care. Which is not necessarily, it's explained that Krishna is advocating for people to become irresponsible to their duties, but rather that there is a highest principle, there is a higher principle than just performing your duties. Because in the same way that Krishna says that, he talks through the Gita, that a devotee also pays attention, even himself, Krishna himself, he pays attention to the performance of duties, but the mindset or the consciousness is in another space, in the space of doing that as a service to Krishna. So it's not necessarily for myself or for the personal interest that I have, but rather it's Krishna's interest. Krishna says the reason I do that is to set an example for people to follow. So in one sense, the devotee is more concerned on advancing in this process of surrender to Krishna, rather than in the process of just performing your social and duties like that. The other one is the surrender is more important, but by surrender to Krishna, everything is taken care automatically. You are doing your duties automatically. Is that touches what you were thinking?
Still not super clear to me, though, exactly. Like, seems like there's two ways to go about it. Like, either you stay in your, like, position, like, you're according to your conditioning or something, then, and you still cultivate Krishna consciousness, or you completely give up all of your desires or conditioning and surrender to like the instruction of the spiritual master, and then like the process of devotional service full time, no like no personal anything. And we see that example of devotees like sannyasis in our movement.
The
They
6 Goswamis,
completely gave up everything, just served selflessly their whole lives. And so the instruction maybe to like engage in an occupational duty didn't really, they were already beyond that, or they just took the instruction of preaching and serving and went with that and never looked back.
But you have the whole spectrum. You have, you have the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, like Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, in terms of his whole process of giving up, renouncing everything. They glorified like that. They just took, copings, and they were living, under trees, completely renounced everything. And then you have householders like Srila Advaita Acharya, Srivas Thakur, who also were as elevated. So you have the whole spectrum. My understanding, which is limited to my level of Krishna consciousness, is that what we're given is the perfect system that Krishna gives is under him. It's basically surrender to his system. And in the different levels of consciousness that different one of us may be, then if we are within this system of Krishna, then we are protected. We are within the umbrella of Krishna's, Masuchaha. And in other words, Krishna makes an allowance for the gradual progression of the devotee. It is explained that a devotee is like a closed bud, flower bud, like a lotus bud. The lotus bud still over the water. I mean, I was supposed to give the Sunday class this Sunday, and I'm going to speak about the lotus. When you see a pond full of lotus, you see some of them are fully open, some of them are in a bud form, but they're still above the water, and they're still not touched by the water. But they're not fully open or developed. They're still a bud. So a sadhaka who is under Krishna's protection by the media of the spiritual master, Krishna's representative, then is fully protected and is above the material, the whole thing. So there's a provision for the gradual progression of this process of surrender. And we see that within the process of surrender, we start with Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, etc., all the way to Prema. And that's what Lord Chaitanya taught us. He taught this process of Saranagati. And then we have to go through. We have to step by step, which is different than the yoga ladder. It is outside that. This is in itself. It's Krishna's system. It's what he's taught in the Bhagavad Gita, which is pure devotional service. Surrender to me. That's it. Just follow Krishna's instructions, and it gets elaborated in the Bhagavatam by so many examples, and it gets then, Krishna comes in the form of Lord Chaitanya to teach us personally how to do this process of Saranagati. So we surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then we follow the process of Sankirtan Yagya and like that. That's my understanding of this, how it fits, there's provision for everybody and all different stages. So you can remain where you are. If you are, a Six Goswami, the Six Goswamis, what they absorb in thoughts of Krishna, in Krishna's pastimes, completely absorbed on that. If you are, a householder with children, family, work, etc., what do? We engage yourself in the process of hearing and chanting and absorb yourself, like I say, with mind, words, and body, minds, and words. Absorb yourself in the process of hearing and chanting in association with devotees. And then with that, you can conquer the Lord. So that's how I understand it. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Grantara Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai.